Yeah, we can start in one minute, Mataji.
Okay, sure. Whatever you say, Vinita, you let me know and then I will start accordingly. Okay.
Okay, Mataji. Mataji, let's start.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes, Mataji, we can see the
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, I just was making sure because I was on another window. So I just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, Hare Krishna, everybody. We are going to be doing the summary study of Bhagavad Gita. And this is the conclusion of chapter 1 we'll be doing today. We saw the first two parts of chapter 1. And now we're going to be doing a few verses. And I'm thinking it's going to be a short class because there are only a few verses left to cover in this chapter. And we will start chapter 2 afresh next week. That may be Lalitangi Mataji or Radhika Mataji. I'm not sure who is going to do that. So one of us will be doing that. So thank you all for joining again today. And let's start with the invocation prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते गिरिराजस्वामिन् इति नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Yeah. I don't know if the participants from the last class are here, but would anybody like to summarize what we did in the last class? I mean, I don't know if you were all there. I see new names here. Generally, Lakshmi Mataji does that, but anyways, yeah, let me just summarize what we were doing in the last class. We were seeing how, Arjuna was feeling quite a lot of confusion, like bewilderment, when he had to actually go against, go against a war with his own cousins, his guru, his, grandfather, his granduncle, like all on the other side. So he was in a state of bewilderment, and there are so many symptoms which are actually given to show this. Like the first five, I mean, Arjuna gives many arguments to actually make this point that he does not want to, go against his own cousins and his uncles and other people. And the first point he quotes is of compassion. We saw in verses 1.28 through 1.30, 28 through 30, we saw how Arjuna actually exhibits many symptoms of this kind of signs and symptoms of this compassion. He says that his limbs are quivering, his mouth is drying up, his whole body is trembling, his hair is standing on the end, and so many such symptoms, he exhibits. And then he goes on to, the next reason he gives is that he says that first is compassion. He exhibits compassion, symptoms of compassion. And the second thing he does is he goes on to quote how, all this kingdom, the wealth, the fame, everything earned through this war, he actually doesn't, have any taste for it. Like he's trying to portray a very soft-hearted Vaishnava because he's a great devotee of the Lord. So he's overcome by this soft-heartedness, and he says that all these material possessions, like he's going to be ruling the kingdom and things like that, don't mean anything to him at all. When he sees his own relatives all dead there. So he says these things may not mean, even if I get the heavenly planets, it means nothing to me. So he talks about how he would not be able to enjoy any of these outcomes, any of these results which are actually coming from the war. So that's where we stop, like the two reasons. There are three more arguments which he says. The third one, which we are going to see today, is how he will be talking about the fear of sinful reactions, like what happens when he kills his own guru, or what happens when he kills his own kith and kin. So he's going to quote several reasons as to why these are very sinful activities and why he should be desisting from actually going to war. And then after that, he's going to be discussing about Varna Shankara. Varna Sankara is actually destroying of family traditions of the Varnashrama Dharma. And then he'll place his ultimate decision in front of Krishna. He puts down his bow and says that I will not fight this war. So this is all we're going to be doing today. So we will start with the first slide. Any volunteers? I don't know why Lakshmi Mata is not there. She's generally so regular. Yeah, any volunteers to read this first slide? Okay, if there are no volunteers, I will go ahead and read it myself. पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतान् आततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हवयं हन्तुं धार्तराष्ट्रान् सबन्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः श्याम माधव. 1.36 verse translation and purport. Translation by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? The purport. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors: a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. The purport continues. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Rama Raja. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama, but because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife. So we see Prabhupada is giving this example of the one of the kinds of aggression where it is mentioned as there are 6 kinds of aggression, and one is mentioned to be kidnapping another person's wife. So Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. So he is thinking on a bodily platform. though he knows, he says that they are aggressors in the verse, we see that he still doesn't want to take any step. Arjuna thought that he should not take, okay. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived uh, therefore therefrom are not permanent, so why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of the devotees. Yeah, so such a beautiful purport Prabhupada is describing here um, as to how Prabhupada is describing here as to how, you know, what are the six kinds of aggressors who actually we must take revenge about. I mean, and we will not incur any sin. So there is a commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur regarding this the same purport, like the same verse 1.40. And I thought it'll be nice if we can 1.36, if we can, uh, go through that. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that there are two kinds of Shastra. One is the Artha Shastra and one is the Dharma Shastra. So actually Prabhupada, which he has described in the purport, is actually taken from the Artha Shastra. And, but Arjuna is arguing on the level of Dharma Shastra. So that's why there is like what we see from Arjuna's words, because Arjuna was a learned devotee. He was the very, what to say, confidential associate of the Lord in one sense, but still he was quoting several reasons. And, though they are from the Shastra, but these are from the Artha Shastra. So he was giving the example of, six types of aggression. So we see that the Pandavas, they actually suffered through all this, almost all of these six types of aggression, because first was, Duryodhana, he tried to feed Bhima a poison cake, So he was trying to actually give him poison. That is the first aggression we just read about. Let me bring that up. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the first aggression we read about. And then we also saw how the Duryodhana, he arranged for a house of lac, so that the Pandavas could be burned down in that house. So we see how he was putting fire to another's house. And also we saw how with the game of dice, actually his uncle Shakuni, he cheated the Pandavas of all their wealth, and everything, all their possessions were taken away from them by cheating. So, and all their wealth was taken. So that's another aggression. And then the Kauravas, even after the Pandavas, they returned after the exile, they were not ready to give them their own, a piece of land. Like Krishna went and wanted to make peace with he wanted to make peace with the Kauravas, and he told them that just give 5 pieces of land, one piece each to the Pandavas, so that they can rule, because they're Kshatriyas and they cannot just they cannot. Kshatriya's duty is to rule and be in the administration like that. So it's not possible for them to be like mendicants, but they need to rule and they're like princes. So still, the Kauravas did not accept this, and they occupied the capital. In fact, they took over possession of Hastinapura. And then they also finally, they wanted to take, Draupadi also away, because Yudhishthira lost Draupadi in the game of dice, and they wanted to, disrobe her like that. So they were also trying to, in one way, take another's wife also. So we see that these Kauravas, they performed all kinds of aggressions against the Pandavas. So when somebody performs, any of these 6 kinds of aggression, according to the Artha Shastra, uh, these people, you have to punish them, or you have to take revenge on them, and you wouldn't be incurring any karma, as such, if you're going to take revenge on them. So Arjuna is trying to quote from this point of view that, uh, I mean, Arjuna is trying to deviate from this point of view, because he's now talking in terms of Dharma Shastra. He feels that, uh, according to Dharma Shastra, you cannot kill your own family and friends. So that's what Dharma Shastra says. But the Artha Shastra says that the aggressors can be punished. So what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives on in his commentary, he says that this is the difference between why Arjuna is trying to say, that he will not kill his aggressors, because he is actually resorting to Dharma Shastra instead of Artha Shastra. But we see that Srila Prabhupada is actually explaining Artha Shastra in the purport. So if there is some kind of a seeming, seeming difference between what Arjuna is saying and Prabhupada is saying, is because they are referring to different Shastras here. And that is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clarifying for us so nicely here. So, and Arjuna is resorting to the help of Dharma Shastra, because he's overtaken by his bodily, relationship with his cousins, with his uncle, grandfather, and such. So that's why he's resorting to Dharma Shastra and trying to quote as many reasons as possible. So I hope that's enough discussion on that verse. We'll move on to verse 140. Do we have any volunteers who want to read?
Yes, Mataji, I want to read. 1 second. It's too small, Mataji, for me. I don't know why. Okay. When a religion is prominent in the family, oh Krishna, the woman of the family becomes polluted, and from the degradation, womanhood, or descendant of Rishni, comes unwanted progeny. Purport: good population in human society is a basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religious principles were designed that the good population would prevail in the society for the general spiritual progress of this of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to be degradation. Therefore, both children and women requires protection by elder members of family. By being engaged in various religious practice, women will not be misled into adultery. According to the Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family tradition of religion activity should always engage in them, and thus their charity and devotion will give
Chastity.
birth. What happened? Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
I think it was
Sorry,
chastity.
Mataji. Chastity and devotion will give birth to good population eligible for practicing the Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is
Indulge.
indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and what is that word, Mataji? Please read.
Pestilence. Yeah. Thank you so much, Vinita Mataji, for reading so nicely. I'll just read the verse. Adharmabhivavat Krishna pradushyanti
Yanti
kulasya.
Kulashreya Shrishu Dushta Shubhashneya Jayate Varna Sankara.
Beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is the other reason, we saw so far three reasons, right? He quotes compassion. He says, a loss of enjoyment. And then in the previous verse, we saw how he quotes these aggressors, that he doesn't want to go against the Shastra. And now we are seeing he's giving another reason. It is like it's a social reason he's trying to put forth here. And this is the concept of Varna Sankara. The word is used in this verse. We see Varna Sankara. Varna is generally, according to Vedic rules and regulations, all human beings, must follow the system of Varnashrama. And what Arjuna is trying to tell here is that when so many family members, like most the men used to go to war then, and when the men are killed on the battlefield, so many women will become widows and the children will become orphans. And they're also not only their husbands who are going to war, they could be their fathers or their fathers-in-law, or so many other people going to war. So in that case, what happens is a woman, as Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, she needs the protection and guidance of any kind of a male personality at any point of time. Like for the first few years of her life, a woman is protected, a girl or a woman is protected by her father. And then, once married, her husband takes care of the woman. And when the husband passes away, or he takes sannyasa, as was in the traditional system, vanaprastha and sannyasa, at that time the elder son, he takes care of his mother. So at any point of time, the woman is giving protection. And Prabhupada says here, according to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So this can kind of be controversial, being a woman, we may try to, we may not be able to understand the context which Prabhupada is saying, but what it actually means is women are driven by emotions more than they bank on their intelligence. Doesn't mean that women are less intelligent, but it just says goes to say that women can be very compassionate by nature, and very forgiving. We saw also how Draupadi herself, she was very forgiving in nature, in spite of all these things, these aggressors did to her. She was very forgiving in nature. And we see so many instances, that where women generally have this nature of caring, sharing, and compassionate nature, and that is because that's how Krishna has created woman, with all those qualities. Because it's not easy to I mean, the kind of uh, the patience and endurance and tolerance we see also in a verse in Bhagavad Gita. He says uh, of fame. And let me try to pull up that verse. One second. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up that verse, when Krishna is describing his vibhutis, his opulences. And then that he also describes how, the different, fame, memory, and all these are, among women, I'm this, he says all this. I'm trying to look for that verse. I'm not, just give me 1 second, please. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, this is the verse. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirti shrirvakcha narinam smritir medha dhritikshamaha. I am all devouring death, and I am the generator of all things yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. So, actually, I was reading a recent article by Her Grace Urmila Mataji. She's a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And she had written that for each of these, which is being mentioned here, there is a personality behind, a female personality behind each of these qualities. So we see that Krishna himself is saying, among women, I'm fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. So there are female personalities behind each of these qualities which are being mentioned. So the right way perhaps to understand what Srila Prabhupada is telling is that, that women are, they're an epitome of love and affection. Like even many times we have heard Srila Prabhupada also tell us that the best way to approach Lord Krishna would be through Srimati Radharani, because Radharani is so merciful by nature. She is so compassionate that she would put in a kind word for us to Lord Krishna himself. So women have such wonderful qualities, and because of their very compassionate nature, there is a chance or a tendency that they may be exploited. And that's why that's the main, it's from a protection aspect to make sure that the women are safe, that Srila Prabhupada and the Vedic scriptures enjoin that women must always be under the protection and care. It is not to suppress them or throw them in bad light, but it's just that to offer the greatest protection to women, that these things are mentioned in the Shastras. So we see what happens is when these elders are killed in the battle, and not only the elders, the husbands of these women, what could happen is people may exploit these women. And because the woman has to take care of the child, she is in a vulnerable position. We also see nowadays that there are so many single parents, I mean, for whatever sad reasons, and it's not easy to lead a life as a single parent like that, because the the mother has to mother or father has to take the role of both the mother and the father. And number two, the child also needs both the mother and the father, so that some things the child enjoys doing with the father, and some things they want to confide with their mother. So both have an important role in the upbringing of a child. So when one person in the family, when one of the spouses is not there, the woman gets to be in a very vulnerable position, and men may take advantage and exploit them. And so, to keep up her family, or to take care of the children, she may have to resort to some means which are not socially acceptable. So thus it will give rise to unwanted population. It's called it varna sankaraha. So she may have kids outside of marriage, just to keep up her family, things like that. They may be forced to do so many things. And so that's why Arjuna is quoting all these reasons. He's now telling Krishna on these social grounds that he does not want to wage the war, because he's worried about the woman, in the society. He says that it would be a big crime to actually do this and destroy, and create this Varna Sankara instead of establishing proper Varna Ashrama Dharma. Instead of that, there will be Varna Shankara there. So that's what he's trying to say, that he does not want this to happen to his own kith and kin, to his own people there. So this is another reason he quotes. And then we'll move on to the next verse, 1.45. Any volunteers who want to read this?
Hare
Okay.
Krishna Mataji, I can read Mataji. You want me to read translation and purport?
Yeah, if you can do the verse.
Yeah, verse. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yadi mam apratikaram asastram sastrapanayah Dhatarashra rane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. Translation: Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Purport: It is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for reading so beautifully. Um, so we see here that Arjuna is actually, trying to give yet another reason, and he's also now pleading on the grounds of, bodily relationship, that he says that it's better for him to die, in the hands of his cousins, rather than, all the reasons he's been quoting so far, uh, he's been quoting so far as to why he should not go to war. So, like Prabhupada explains in the purport, it's a custom according to Kshatriya fighting principles that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. So he's actually, in one sense, backtracking on his Kshatriya duties, because he is actually overcome by compassion for his own kith and kin. So we see that he's uh, trying to stray away, because on one hand he should be following the varnashrama, and he's a kshatriya by profession, so he should be doing the duties of a kshatriya and just fight the war. But now he's trying to deviate from that, his dharma, and he's saying that it's okay, even if I die at the hands of my cousins. And this is because, as a devotee, he is very soft hearted, and we should not be taking it as a weakness on part of Arjuna. It's just that he's very soft hearted as a devotee. And we'll see what some more examples of how a kshatriya, in any position, they're not supposed to give up their valor, because like kshatriya, I mean, their duty or their dharma is that they have that fighting spirit in them. So if a kshatriya becomes very sage like person, then it does not make much sense, right? I mean, in the varnashrama system. So another, there is a good example, which I came across, in which, last time we discussed this pastime of how Draupadi, she asks Bhima to go, and she sees a beautiful, 1,000 petal lotus, and she tells Bhima to go and look for more lotuses because she wants to give one to Yudhishthir. So then Bhima takes off on this journey, upwards, onwards, to the north. And on the way, that's where he meets Hanuman, and Hanuman is lying on the ground there, and Bhima asks him to move, but Hanuman refuses to move from there, and he says, just move my tail, and then you go by yourself. But Bhima tries to lift the tail, like but so hard, but he's not able to actually lift his tail. And then he realizes that this is not an ordinary monkey which is there on the ground. This is a special personality. And then he comes to know it's his own brother, half brother Hanuman. So they're both Vayuputras. So then they embrace each other, and that's when he tells that I will be the Kapi Dhwaja, the mark or the emblem on the flag, which Arjuna is actually going on. So that's when Hanuman says that I will be there always in that emblem with you. So after what happens after Bhima meets Hanuman, he again, continues on his path, and he wants to find where he can find more of these 1,000 petal lotuses. And then he reaches this lake where there's these lotuses. And this lake was actually owned by Kuvera. He's the treasurer of the demigods. Kuvera is so there, when he goes to the lake and he tries to enter into the lake and get the lotuses, the yakshas and the rakshasas who are there in the lake, they say that, oh, you cannot just take, or you cannot enter the lake without the permission of Kubera. They challenge him. They say that you should first go and get the permission of Kubera. Only then you can even try and attempt to even enter the lake, or we're going to fight with you. So Bhima, he is a Kshatriya by nature. So why this example is being said is to show that a Kshatriya has that fighting spirit in him. And, they don't usually go mellow or things like that, because it's in their nature to be having that fighting spirit. So Bhima, he just, yells back at them. He says, I'm a Kshatriya, and as a Kshatriya, I'm not going to beg any favors from anybody. So I'd rather, fight with you all and win you and, take my lotuses, but I'm not going to beg anybody, for permission or anything like that. So then what happens? He fights with the yakshas and the rakshasas, and Bhima actually, he wins over all of them, and then he takes the lotuses. So we see that how for a kshatriya, begging or going mellow, soft speaking, and all these qualities, do not give. I mean, they kind of take away from the dharma of a kshatriya. So, um, um, so his psychology or the culture does not allow this kind of things for a kshatriya. The soft-heartedness and things like that. So when Arjuna is saying that it is better for him to be killed unarmed and on the battlefield, and even by his own kith and kin, by his own cousins, he's actually going to be leading a beggar's life, which is unbefitting for kshatriya. So as a kshatriya, he it is against his dharma to even think on these terms. So we see that this is another reason Arjuna is offering, but again, it is not on good grounds, because it's going against the nature of the kshatriya. So that is what we can understand from this verse. We'll move on to the next verse. Any volunteers to read this? Okay.
Mataji, would you mind reading the sloka, Mataji?
Oh, okay, sure, Prabhu. Sanjay Vacha, Ema Muktvarjuna Sankhye Rathopasta Upavishat Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvignamanasaha.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna translation. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with the grief. Purport: while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with the lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for reading that so nicely. Yeah, so we see here that Arjuna is setting aside his bow there, the Gandiva bow there, and this has a special significance because Arjuna had, when he received the Gandiva bow, he had actually vowed that, anybody who asked him to keep away his bow, he would actually kill them. So what happens is during the battle, once Karna, he actually he injures Yudhishthira. Like when Karna and Yudhishthira are fighting, Yudhishthira gets hurt a lot, and then Yudhishthira goes back to his camp, to take rest at that time. So when Arjuna hears that Yudhishthira has actually injured and he wants to go and see his brother how he's doing, so he goes to the camp to just check on his brother Yudhishthira there. So when Yudhishthira, he sees Arjuna coming there to him, he thinks that Arjuna may have already killed, Karna, because Karna was trying to attack Yudhishthira. So he thinks that he would have killed Karna and come here to give him the good news, as a Kshatriya, he expects that from Arjuna. So when Arjuna comes to meet him, he is surprised, when he says that he just came to inquire about the injuries he actually he incurred. So then Yudhishthira, when he sees Arjuna that he's not actually killed his Karna, but he's just come there to check on him, he gets angry and he says that, you are so unbefitting to have this Gandiva bow. You should not be, just put away the bow. You're not fit to be a Kshatriya, something to that effect. So Arjuna, when he hears this, he gets very angry and upset, because he's also having the Kshatriya blood, and he almost goes to kill Yudhishthira, his own brother. And at that time, Krishna stops him and he says that, dishonoring a Kshatriya is worse than even killing him. So just, dishonor your brother. If you're so upset with, him, just insult him. A Kshatriya cannot take insult. He may even take death, but, insulting a Kshatriya is even more, it brings down the prestige of the Kshatriya all the more. It's worse than, insulting a Kshatriya is worse than even killing him. For a Kshatriya, an insult is worse than even death. So after this, what happens is, when Yudhishthira, once all this thing passes, he realizes that maybe he should not have, spoken like this to Arjuna. But Arjuna is still, he is like so angry, and he goes on to insult his brother. He says that, you calling me a coward because I just came to check on you, how you were doing, but on the other hand, you lost your kingdom, you even lost your wife, you were even unable to do anything when Draupadi was being disrobed. So are you so proud of those things that you're trying to insult me now? And if you had just given me the permission, I would have killed the whole Kaurava army single-handedly, but you're not just allowing me to do so. You're not even a man, and you're not even a king. That way he also hurls words at his brothers, Yudhishthira, like this. So we see that the Kshatriya spirit in him uh, makes him do such things. But then after he says these insulting words to his brother Yudhishthira, he realizes that he has done a big mistake, and then he quickly falls at the feet of his elder brother and begs for forgiveness, for the words he spoke. So we see that this Gandiva, when Arjuna, in this verse, we're seeing that he's putting aside his Gandiva bow. You see the translation reads, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So this is not a very, this setting aside of his Gandiva bow is actually a matter of great significance, as we see, because he had taken a vow that he would always, in his Kshatriya spirit, use his bows, to fight. So now he's putting down his bow and arrow. So that means that he is so overwhelmed with grief, and that's the significance of putting aside his bow and arrows here. And this is the last verse for this chapter 1. So now Arjuna has given, to just summarize, we will go through the reasons, through what chapter 1 entails. First, we see that the battle scene is described. We see who are all there on each side of the battle, like the Kauravas and the Pandavas. The distinguished fighters, or the distinguished warriors on each side, are mentioned. And then the conch shells are mentioned, the conch shells blown by Lord Krishna himself, by Arjuna. So all the names and those details are discussed. And then we see that Arjuna, he in a state of despondency, or in a great depression, he tries to start giving so many reasons. We saw it starts from verse 26 onwards. He tries to give a lot of reasons as to why he should not be fighting the war. And we saw that he gives 5 reasons as to why he won't be doing. First is on the grounds of compassion. He said because he is exhibiting so many bodily symptoms. And then and the second is he's giving loss of enjoyment. He says, I cannot enjoy any of this power, position, fame, or anything because I'll be killing all my family. And then he gives this fear of sinful reactions. Like he says that he quotes the Dharma Shastra, and he says that though they are aggressors, if the aggressors happen to be your own family, you should not be killing them. So that's what he's quoting Dharma Shastra. Whereas we saw how Srila Prabhupada is bringing Artha Shastra and says that there are 6 kinds of aggressors who should never be forgiven. And that also entails no karma when you try to punish them. And then he also talks about Varna Sankara. He takes a social, stand to why to not fight this war. And he talks about how family traditions will be destroyed because generally the family traditions are passed on by the elders. And so when there are no men in the family, nobody to guide the woman, the family traditions are going to be destroyed. And then we see how he's overwhelmed with grief and bewilderment, and he puts down his Gandhi Babu aside and he says that I'm not going to fight this war anymore. So on this note, the first chapter ends, and next week we will see what will happen, what Lord Krishna actually replies to Arjuna, and what kind of um, you know what Lord Krishna has to say in terms of why Arjuna must fight the war. So that will be done next week with the chapter 2. So we will end chapter 1 here and stop for today, and we can just take if there are any questions or any comments or realizations. Please do feel free to share.
Hare Krishna Mataji, very, very beautiful class. Thank you. And regarding that slide of women, I just want to tell one thing that where I heard it from the classes in our Bhakti Sangha only, Mataji. So one day I think you only asked, somebody asked the question, why is so much security needed for women, or why it is like always said that woman has to be under the shelter of someone. Why woman has not having knowledge or something like. So and then that Prabhu was answering that if something is like gold or anything, you just don't leave it outside, right? You try to secure it. It means we are very precious. Women are so, it's like those they are going to put us in the very safe side. We are like more have worth. I mean, and very precious. So that's why Prabhupada was telling to be always in the protection. That I really like, and you can see also when if you compare Krishna and Radharani approaching Radharani, and Radharani is more, they say, right? So means we can see woman is having more than the men in the scripture also, that Prabhu was explaining like that. I don't know if I put it in a right way what Prabhu has told in the class, but I just wanted to recollect myself and tell those words. So I remember for my own benefit, I repeated. Mataji, thank you so much. Very beautiful class.
Thank you, Vinita Mataji. Yeah, very nice points you brought up. Yeah, woman is very important to the fabric of the family, and yeah, she must be taken very well care of. And if a woman is unhappy, the whole family is unhappy. So a lot of it bangs on the woman, because she's endowed with these nice qualities of compassion, caring, and all that. So yeah, I mean, she's the one who keeps the family together. So it's important, like you say, to protect them, and protect them like a diamond, like a precious jewel.
Yeah, Mataji, and what you said also very interesting. Like woman makes everything in the house. Like we say, right? The first teacher is mother.
Yeah.
So if a mother is teaching us good, then we are all going to be good outside in the society. So woman plays a very good role in the family. So our first teacher is our mother. So it's having a lot of importance. Yeah, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, but we see that with modern times, these traditions, values are all going down, right? I mean, because parents themselves are, we see that there's so much of materialistic attitude in the upbringing, and we see that we may be more concentrating on the materialistic aspects when bringing up our own children rather than the spiritual aspects. And so yeah, I mean, all these qualities are deteriorating as we see in the current age. Yeah, it's kind of going down. Yeah, those days it was even, I mean, chastity and all those qualities of woman were highly, a woman is not a woman if she's not chaste, like that. But nowadays we see all these qualities, these values are going down a lot, because they feel that in the name of freedom they should be able to do anything. So yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, Mataji, that's true.
But in the end, they're the ones who are actually
Suffering, yeah. Yes. Yeah, we are trying to get our freedom, at the same time we are also spoiling our lives. That's what everybody, like, in the outside world, it is said like that only. Yeah, we want the freedom, we want everything, we want to progress, and that progress, that technology, everything, something we are trying to get, there is something going to be bad also, mostly like more bad. Prabhupada also says, right, if you want to try to do more things in materially, it's always what progress we are getting, we don't know, but the spoil is going to be happen a lot.
Yeah, Vinita, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, but on the other hand, I don't know if men are also of that caliber. So it kind of cuts both ways. It's a big issue. It's a big topic, for discussion. And many women also say that the men are not capable of taking care of them properly. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of things going on in Kali Yuga. It's not the best place to be, but of course, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we have got nice association of devotees and Prabhupada's books, and so much association from our Guru Vargas, that hopefully we can tide over this ocean of samsara.
Yeah, Mataji, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vinita, for your beautiful realizations and thoughts. Anybody else wants to share anything they thought, from today's class, or anything from the first chapter? Actually,
Thank you so much, Mataji.
yeah, sure. Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. One question is like we discussed if the as Arjuna, one of the point he says like if the war happens, the woman will be polluted. Actually, what is the that is still true, right, Mataji? Like, what is the answer for that, Mataji?
Yeah, the answer to that, all that will be covered, for each of these. It's being answered in the second chapter for each of these questions. So would you like to wait until we move on to the second chapter?
Sure, Mataji.
Yeah, it is actually covered in verses 2.45 to 46 and 3.24. Like second chapter 45, 46, and third chapter 24, Krishna answers this destruction of family traditions. He gives the answers. I mean, the refutation he gives to these. So each of these 5 points, which I just mentioned, are refuted by Krishna in second chapter or maybe third chapter, like that. So we can perhaps go over it then, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. If you can tell one line answer, that would be great, Mataji. Otherwise, we can go over when it comes.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Let me just bring that up. And okay.
Also, Mataji, like Vinita Mataji also mentioned, like the woman plays a vital role, but in the modern society, in the name of freedom. And one point you mentioned, like if the woman is unhappy, the whole family will be unhappy. But at the same time, we need to understand, right, Mataji, like where to draw the line. to what level we have to give them the freedom.
Yeah, you're right, Prabhuji. So the freedom is kind of in one sense curtailed for women, because according to Vedic injunctions, a woman must obey the orders of her husband, and that is good for her, and that's good for the family too. And typically when they say that, it's also expected that the husband is also on a brahminical level, and he is in the form of a guru trying to guide his wife. So that is also the expectation on the other end. So when there is, sorry.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
when
go
there is
ahead.
such an expectation, from the man, then the woman also will naturally follow. If she has a husband who is sage-like and giving her the proper care and the proper spiritual advice, and because it's the dharma of the husband to actually take his whole family towards Krishna, back to Godhead. So if he does it properly, the woman, may be happy and, just follow what her husband tells her, right? Because even I remember His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj, I heard from many of his disciples, he says that your husband is your first guru. So, when you have any spiritual problems like that, go to your husband, seek his advice. And even then, if it's not solved, then come with your husband to me, to discuss it like that. So that is the first level a woman goes for advice, is to her husband.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm trying to go through 45 and 46, and in these purports, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the importance of the rituals and the sacrifices. I mean, what Vedas can do. So I'm not getting an exact answer from this, but
Sure, Mataji.
from what I mean, I had read earlier, and things like that. Arjuna must be following the Lord's instruction, because that overrules everything. It overrules any kind of varnashrama dharma, or because a devotee is actually above all this varnashrama system, and Arjuna is on the platform of a pure devotee. So he should follow whatever Krishna is trying to tell, and he should not be bound to this karma kanda, these injunctions, these Vedic injunctions which are there, for varnashrama system. Again, the varnashrama system is on a material level. So though it is coming from the Vedas, it is still something we have to follow on a material level. So even I remember again this thing which His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj was saying during one of the initiation programs, that when he was giving Brahman Diksha to somebody, he said, it's you're getting Brahman Diksha, there is no need to be so proud, because this is still on the Varnashrama level. This is a material designation, because this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, all these are material designations still. So you don't have to feel very proud, that you're getting a Brahmana Diksha or something. So for a devotee, you have to rise above all these material designations like that. So in that sense, Krishna is telling that, these Vedas, all these are good for people, who are trying to reach that platform of pure devotional service. For them, it's imperative to follow, like as practicing sadhakas, we should be following all these varnashrama system and things like that. But then, for a person like Arjuna, who's on a pure devotional platform, he's in Sakhya Rasa with Krishna, his position is to just take Krishna's word and fight the war. So that's why Arjuna's case is different, because he's getting direct instruction from the Lord.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat.
Mataji,
Yes.
Mataji, I just want to say something. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Mataji, here why this question was answered or not, Prabhu was asking, and you are saying we have to follow Krishna's order. So that is what Krishna is saying us to do. But the other thing I was thinking, Mataji, if the king is not correct, if let's say if he's not fighting and it's going to the other party and they are going to rule or they are going to have the kingdom, and then everything will be going bad, right? If the king is not correct also, automatically that varnashrama, whatever Arjuna was point outing, if I do war everybody dies, and then it will become like this. But even though if he's not doing also, if it is going to be handed to the other person, whole the system is going to be spoiled. Will that can be taken, Mataji? I don't know.
Yes,
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. Right justification.
That way also Krishna is saying that, right?
Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally true. Totally true.
yes, Mataji, like what your reasoning is right. Because Duryodhana was in one sense, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, as Prabhupada says, were spiritually blind. And for a good Kshatriya, they must be good at spirituality. I mean, they should be good spiritual warriors. So in that sense, it is right also, Mataji. The reasons I gave are from Bhakti Shastri guides, which are written by senior devotees. So like you rightly said, that's also a very nice reasoning, Mataji, which you said that anyway, if it's going to go to the hands of bad rulers, like we saw in the case of King Vena in Bhagavatam, we saw that how he was he was such an evil ruler. He didn't give any respect to the brahmanas. He was performing all kinds of atrocities to his praja, to his citizens. And then the group of brahmanas, they were so frustrated with this kind of an evil king that with the power of mantras, they actually killed this evil king Vena. So what happens is, from his body, Prithu Maharaj and Archi, they come forth, they do these sacrifices. So from the body of this King Vena, Prithu Maharaj and Archi appear. And we know that Prithu Maharaj, Nripanam, he is the, Krishna says that among kings, he is Prithu. He's an exemplary, he's a Shaktavesha avatar of Lord Krishna. So we saw that Prithu came. So when, like you rightly said, when there's an evil king, the whole society is going to suffer any which way. So that's also a very good reason, like you said, Mataji.
Yeah, always Prabhupada also says, na Mataji, we are trying to get peace or we are trying to do so many things, but actual peace and actual thing will happen only if the ruler is God consciousness. Then everything will be, politicians should be God consciousness, then every problem is solved. Otherwise, still we'll be having the problems, all of the problems. So that also I was thinking when we are talking about that shloka, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very nice points, Vinita Mataji. Yeah, thank you for sharing very valuable input. Yeah, that I think that also is very nice, like you said. Yeah, evil king may again is going to be unhappy citizens. So
thank you, Mataji. Prabhu, you have any more questions, Prabhu?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Radhika Mataji, you are there on the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Beautiful discussion. I was just patiently listening to all the things that you have to offer for Minita Mataji. I think thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Just wanted to add to what Mataji was saying. Again, so we are talking about destruction of family traditions, right? That is from chapter 1. What Arjuna saying is the family traditions are going to be destroyed. And as an argument, what Krishna is going to, I'm sorry, Mataji, my headphones are coming off me. So what Arjuna was saying, I mean, what Krishna was saying as an argument to Krishna, to Arjuna's question is that, see, you have to tolerate dualities. Whatever that comes on your way, be it happiness or sadness, you have to tolerate it as long as this material body is existing in you. And that you have to get free from the anxiety of loss and gain. And you have to be established in yourself. You have to rise above the bodily platform. Because all this that you're talking about, destruction of family traditions, it's all good at the body level. But what we are going to talk now in the second chapter is going above that. You have to rise above these karma kandiya rituals that you're talking about and come and understand the platform of soul. And then when you understand the platform of soul, you will be able to tolerate the dualities. What is dualities? It is happiness, distress, all these things. It will continue to exist as long as the material body is there, but you have to tolerate them, and you have to get free from this loss and gain. And then you have to be established in the self, meaning you have to realize your inner self. And then when you are achieving this, you will be in full Krishna consciousness because of the goodwill of Krishna. So this is what he is going to give as a refutation for Arjuna talking about destruction of family traditions. It definitely seems valid, but then you have to definitely rise above this platform, Arjuna. That is what Krishna says. And I just wanted to add on to it, Mataji. Thank you so much for this beautiful session. Very interactive. I think it's definitely
thank you so much, Radhika Mataji. Yes, I was also trying to explain this same thing, the refutations from chapter 2 and chapter 3. Yeah, but you said it so beautifully, and I think it's so nicely presented it. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Radhika Mataji.
Thank you, Venkat Prabhu, for your wonderful questions as always. I mean, Lakshmi Mataji is not here, so we miss her association.
Yeah, we are missing her today. Mataji.
Yes, I'm missing her too. And you both beautiful. You have both of you all have beautiful questions, so I definitely look forward to the session, which makes it more interesting because of your questions.
Yes, Mataji.
When Lakshmi Mataji had requested that I also do the Gita Mahatmya at the end, but since she's not here, I thought we'll do it some other time whenever she is there. So I mean, are there any more questions or realizations anybody wants to share?
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, so if there is no more questions or comments, then maybe we can call it.
Thank you, Mataji. Once again, thank you all the devotees for joining. I would like to offer my obeisances to all of you. Quite. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnava Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Suka Sagari Mataji ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji and Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.